Hello, this is Nadia from She Builds Again, and I am here for another episode. And this one, I'm going to be talking about I thought moving abroad would fix this, but here's the truth. And so I really want to tell the truth about what it means to move abroad and to relocate and to think that it's going to completely change your life, and it does. But the reality is that you are still yourself, and life is still life, and life still comes with highs and lows and challenges and everything in between. And so moving is not all rainbows and sunshine. It is not a perfect picture. But what it does is it allows you to be in a different environment, to heal, and then to face life's challenges with a different perspective, with a different hat on, with a different way of seeing the world and seeing yourself. And so that's definitely what it's done for me. It's definitely, oh my gosh, last year was filled with so many challenges for us as a family, for us as a couple, but we thankfully got through it. And I'm going to be sharing with you some of those lessons that I've learned and the reality of what it doesn't fix. And the fact is that we actually have to do that work within ourselves. No matter where we are, we have to really dig deep. And the one thing I will say is that your environment can help you to heal. I feel like in some environments, if you were wounded in that environment, it can just be like constantly bumping up against a wound, and it never gets a chance to heal. It's always got a little bit of like blood or whatever oozing from it, because there's so many triggers in your environment that just stop you from really getting outside of yourself and seeking the healing that you need. And so for me, a fresh environment has been a fresh opportunity to really look at what's going on, look at areas that I need to work on, look at where I'm the problem, and to also heal the areas or the things that were thrust upon me from outside forces that were not actually something that I needed to change or something that I needed to dislike myself for. And so it's been for sure a journey of healing. It's been a journey of seeing my marriage in a different way. It's been a journey of seeing myself in a different way and starting to love myself for probably the very first time in my life in a genuine, authentic, whole way, where yes, I'm imperfect, and yes, I know my faults, and it's good to be aware of your shortcomings, but I also love myself through that season of walking through those mistakes and those imperfections, and for the first time in my life also learning to use my voice. And even with this platform, there's some things where I want to share, and it's still scary. It's still scary because I'm like, what if someone hears about it, and what if someone gets mad at me, and what if someone blames me? But I've had to really do some work and start to expand my own container, because it's okay if people don't agree with me, but I'm going to share my story, and I'm going to share my truth and my experience, because what else am I going to do? Like, if we're not authentic and if we're not true to ourselves, then what's the point really? So anyways, in this episode, I'm going to be answering a few questions around this topic, and I hope that you'll enjoy it. If I don't get to every single question that you had on your head, on your heart, then let me know in the comments, and I'll be happy to answer or direct you to any resources that could be helpful for you. Okay, so I'm going to dive in now. So the first question I wanted to answer is, what problems followed me to Bali? So I would say that me and my husband kind of looked at moving to Bali as a desperate attempt to also fix things that were wrong in our marriage. And so we had been through so much. I think every marriage has gone through ups and downs. And if you've gone through the loss of a parent, if you've gone through financial burdens, if you've gone through even just betrayal or lack of trust, all of these things can be very, very hard to navigate. And so we've gone through the whole gamut of things, and what I realized is it didn't happen overnight that we healed. And so honestly, our marriage got worse before it got better. And so for us, I would say the turning point with how I thought about my marriage, I was honestly ready to give up my marriage. Like, I wasn't interested anymore. I didn't want to work on it. I wanted to just work on myself. I wanted to devote all my energy into healing myself and working on myself. But in doing that, in going through that journey of healing myself, reading more books about relationships and love and what really matters to me, and figuring out who I am and who I want to become, I really did realize that I wanted to make my marriage work. And I realized that I wanted my marriage to work for a lot of different reasons. I wanted my marriage to work for my son. I wanted my marriage to work for me. I didn't want us to live in different places. That just wouldn't be a fulfilling life for me as a woman, as a mom, you know? And so it took a lot, but it was really a journey back to myself, forgiving myself for some of the things that I felt I was victim to in the past, but also stepping out of that victimhood, because the reality is it's not a very empowering state to think that you're a victim. The reality is that we choose everything, even the bad things we've chosen. We've made that choice to stay in a relationship. We've made a choice to pick that particular partner. We've made a choice to, there's so many choices that we make that have led us to where we are. And so the reality is that I just really got to a place where I had to let go of the past and not dwell on it so much, but also really just release it and trust that everything is happening for a reason, and that this is not the end. There's something better coming. And I think that a lot of that comes back to faith as well. Like, faith is so important to me. And I grew up in a household where I didn't see my dad a lot, especially when I was younger. I moved in with my dad when I was 14. He lived in Canada. My parents' marriage was very rocky from the very beginning of my life. But the challenge was that even when I moved to Canada, my dad had other things that was going on in his life that meant he wasn't a very present or active dad, not in the way that I would hope. I spent so much time alone during my years in Canada. And on the good side, that taught me independence. But on the bad side, I felt very, very lonely. I was very withdrawn. I felt like I wasn't worthy of love. I was telling myself a lot of stories that I've had to rewrite. And one thing and one nugget I would like to share with you is that you can rewrite the stories that you're telling yourself about your life or what happened. The reality is that sometimes, like, our memories are not even all that great. You know, we can't really remember all the specific details, but we're telling ourselves one specific story, and it might not even be the truth. And so in my case, I was telling myself that I was not loved, that, you know, my dad was too busy for me, that he didn't care. But in reflecting and piecing together other things that I know about my dad, I realized my dad actually passed away 13 years ago. So I've had a lot of time to work through this. But I realized that, oh my gosh, like, my dad invited me to come and live with him in Canada. He wanted to be near me. He didn't have the capacity to spend more time with me, to love me in the way that I wanted, but he loved me. He loved me so deeply. And you know, I had an amazing stepmom when I lived in Canada. There were just so many blessings from that experience. And I've had to do a lot of work to be able to pull those out and to be able to rewrite those stories that have impacted me for my whole life. And so it's the same thing with my marriage. You have to start to rewrite a little bit of the story. And so you can keep telling yourself, oh, you know, like, maybe he's not my soulmate. Maybe he's not the one for me. Maybe I would have been better off with this or that person. But the reality is that every single relationship takes work. Every single relationship takes work. And it's, you know, it's easy to think the grass is greener on the other side. But if a different relationship was supposed to work, it would have worked. And it didn't, you know? So I started to feel a lot of peace. I started to feel a lot of closure around things that had happened, things that I felt had robbed me of my confidence and my joy, and started to really take back ownership of my life. And I think that that happiness and that joy also impacted my marriage, and that's rewriting of the story also helped me to find forgiveness and to really see my husband in a new light, because he's an awesome person. He's an awesome, incredible dad. Like, oh my gosh, hands down, everyone in this area of where we are in Bali will know that he's the best dad. And even when, you know, for instance, I've been sick the last week, I had like really bad like tummy pains and I was vomiting and stuff. And he was supporting me through that. He was, taking the kids out of the house, and he was making sure I had, just a day to just lay down and rest. And so there's so many things that I'm just so grateful for with my partner. And he is not perfect and I'm not perfect, but we are two imperfect individuals that God has chosen to do life together. And we are learning on this journey, and we are growing on this journey so that we can be the best people for our kids and for our family unit. And so I've just done a lot of work around that, but I feel like we're in a good place. Like, marriage is not perfect, like we had Valentine's Day and I didn't really get, maybe in my head what I thought he might do, but at the end of the day, like, any day can be Valentine's Day if he takes me on a date, and he's done so many, spectacular, awesome things for us in the past. So just, taking every day, every year of marriage with the lessons and growing as not only a partner, but growing as a person, and just making sure that you, number one, realize that happiness is an inside job. And so you cannot expect someone else to make you happy, and you cannot expect another environment to fix your issues. You have to do the work. And so, number two, I wanted to talk about what actually changed for the better since moving to Bali. And lots of things have changed for the better. Like I said in past videos, my mindset around money, my mindset around gratitude, my mindset around building community, my mindset around myself and how I pour into myself has changed. I have been so intentional since moving here about making sure I pour into myself, making sure that if there are any voids in my life, and I actually learned this from Jay Shetty's 8 Rules of Love, if there are any voids in my life or my heart, that I have the responsibility and the ability to fill those voids myself. I do not have to wait for anyone outside of myself. It's not something that's external, it's internal, and I can spot those lacks. So I'm tired today, I don't feel appreciated, I don't feel loved or seen, and I can start to fill those myself. And so just being really intentional on loving myself, really intentional on spoiling myself sometimes, and that can be with spa days, or a little tiny mini shopping break, or just small things like that make me really grateful. And trust me when I say I don't shop a lot, especially here. Like, I can go maybe like 6 or 9 months and not really buy anything for myself. But it's like little things, like buying face wash for myself, or things that just make me feel good and make me feel taken care of and make me feel special. And so that's been another lesson that I've learned since being out here. Other things that have changed for the better, definitely some of my relationships. Back home, it's interesting because that's the same. Like, things got really bad for a while with some of our relationships back home. They didn't get better at first. They got really bad. And I had shared, I've been trying to share about my experience, and I've been sharing about things that have happened. I've been sharing about my relationship with my in-laws, which has, thankfully it's gotten better, but there's been times where I've felt like I was blamed for problems within the family. There have been times where I felt like I was scapegoated. There have been times where I felt like people are like pointing the finger, saying that you and my husband have changed, and not in a good way. Like, they put this pressure and this sense of shame around us changing. And so it's been really hard to navigate those things, and I don't think they come from a bad place, but I also have to honor my own journey, and I want to change. I want my husband to change. I want us to change together, and I want us to change for the better. And at the end of the day, you cannot keep yourself the same for anyone. Back home, in your new home, no one. We are all on this experience, this life, this journey that we've been blessed with. We have all been given a certain number of days, and I truly do believe that God has given us however time we have to learn whatever lessons that we need to, so that we can just grow into the best, best, fullest version of ourselves. And so, yeah, it's been hard to navigate some of those relationships back home. It's been hard to sometimes go back home. I feel like this sense of anxiety, but you can't run away from those things. And thankfully, I've confronted, and thankfully, I have in-laws that were willing to confront those with me in a loving way. I'm really grateful for a lot of them. Willing to have, I don't even think we had the conversations, but I've been intentional about having some of those hard conversations with some people because, and I don't think it solved everything. It didn't change how they felt about me. It didn't change what they thought about me. I might still be the villain in their story, but because I had the courage to share a little bit of my experience, it made me the heroine in my own story. So I know this saying, like, you know, I might be the villain in your story, but I'm grateful that I'm the heroine or the hero in my own story, something like that. So yeah, I think that that's just something that we have to accept, that we cannot please every single person, but we do have to stay true to ourselves. And that's been a lot of the journey that I've been on in the last couple of years. So just going back to my notes, if I can log into my computer. So the last thing I wanted to talk about in this video is what inner work relocation forced me to do. So, so many things. So number one, I did some reading. I read a lot in my first year, and more so in my first year because after I got pregnant and after I had my second daughter, my second child, I was busy, not as much reading. But I remember in that first year where I was doing so much of that healing work that I was reading, I was soaking up information, I was listening to YouTube videos, I was listening to podcasts. I still listen to YouTube videos all the time because they're easier for me to absorb while I'm doing other things. And so just that intentionality to learning, being open to more information, being open to new ways of thinking, I think has been really, really powerful. And I think being in a new environment, thankfully, coupled with the information I was learning, helped to heal so much of what was broken and helped me to just even rethink how I thought about myself and my life before. And so another thing that I mentioned already is just, always making sure that my cup is full as much as possible and not expecting anyone else to fill that cup for me. And so that's an inside job, and I take it very, very seriously now. And I'm very intentional about pouring into myself, making sure that I have what I need, making sure that I am bringing my best self to the table because I've given myself time and nurturing and quiet and peace and all the things I need to thrive. And even just good community helps as well. I would say, I was with these girls the other week. Oh my gosh. I just think that being around a good community, like soul aligned people, can just accelerate your journey like in like a second. Like we were only together for like a few hours, but it can just do so much for your mindset, for your feelings of being alone. I was feeling a little bit lonely, and I think that those girls were like an answer to prayer, really. So I'm really excited that we'll get to meet up again soon because I have a Bali BFF, and she moved last year. She moved from Bali to Vietnam, and so that's been a journey as well of trying to navigate not having that closeness with someone. And so thankfully, I feel like I'm getting back to a place where I have other relationships and other people that I can confide in and talk to and learn from. And so that's another thing that's been really, really healing for me. But even just my best friend, she's so beautiful, and she just gives clarity to a lot of things that I've been going through. And having people that you can just be yourself with and share without shame, share without judgment, share without any kind of, ulterior motive is so freeing. And just trusting that they are just sharing from the heart and are only desiring for your benefit and for you to continue to level up and continue to grow. So yes, I think those are mostly the things that I've done in terms of inner work, and I'm just so grateful. And so today I actually am wearing things from my friend. So today, this yellow blouse is one that she gifted me before she relocated, and I'm not sure if the color actually looks better on her, I think, but I don't know. I kind of feel like it's a vibe because I got these like sunflower type flowery earrings on that I got from Bangkok, and so I'm feeling it. So let me know in the comments if you got anything from this video, if there's anything that you think that you're gonna just magically step into a new life, but maybe on the other side you realize that you have to confront yourself. You have to confront the good and the bad and heal and actually be super intentional about whatever the next step is for you in your life. And so I hope you like this video, and I'll see you in the next one.